Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2021 RBC Heritage Preview. I thank you for stopping by. I will break down the course. We're going to look at the field. I got DraftKings pricing in this thing. And of course, we're going to talk briefly about the Masters because I'm sure you guys have probably heard quite a bit enough on it if you've been listening to anything on the golf tip. And let's get into this. All right, so real quick about the Masters. As you know, I was not on Hideki. Very good reasons, right? So he won one match at the WGC Dell match play, which, okay, whatever. But I picked him, actually was on him big time, which is hilarious. As I've told you guys, you know what? Whoever I pick for the RBC, well, you can't play him for the Zurich, but whatever the next tournament is off the top of my head, I can't think of. Put him in there because I had this guy for Valero, was all over him. Saw some things that he, was starting to accomplish and said, this is the time I think Hideki's going to start to make a comeback. But then watching a lot of Hideki at Valero, after pretty much the first round, was not good. The guy was hooking the driver all over the place. And so just was not, it was not on my radar. He's had course history here, and I think his best finish was a 13th. I think that was in 2020 off the top of my head. But long story short, I'll be the first to admit that he was definitely not someone I didn't have him in my player pool, period. Of course, played him a little in Showdown, but that's after the fact. So, to the people that were, had him or were on him, congrats. I didn't hear anybody in, the Golf Channel, CBS, ESPN, any of the other guys that do the golf analysis stuff. I don't remember hearing anybody say Hideki Matsuyama. So, and I'll be the first to say that I missed that one. But that's just the way it works. And this tournament to a whole is a bit like that. I mean, look at Justin Rose. No one saw that coming. He had a T2 in Saudi in the European Tour, but hasn't done anything other, he pulled his back at, Arnold Palmer and was doing okay after the first round there, but then pulled his back and then, hasn't played competitive golf in, almost a month. You got Will Zalatoris, which, great form he's coming into, but again, it's his first time at Augusta. Never thinking in a million years he's going to end up T2. So, that is definitely someone that is just hot to have a win so he can get into the FedEx playoffs. So definitely someone that I'll be looking at for the RBC. Mark Leishman, I actually did have my player pool. He does do well at this course, no matter usually what form he's in, right? He was in terrible form and then went into the Masters in 2020. I think ended up in the 13th or around that, or not too far over Hideki was. So, anyways, it was, for me, it wasn't my favorite Sunday at the Masters, just because with Hideki having that kind of lead and then, Schauffele off the back, going bogey, double bogey. Yes, he made a surge back and then, of course, had to triple. Really, I was pulling for Will Zalatoris. Was the guy that I was looking to win or was hoping from an outright bets and kind of standpoint. But anyways, that's enough about the Masters. I hope you guys did well. Like I said, from my pick status, did okay. Cantlay was probably the crucial pick that just destroyed me. And shocking that he did that bad. Of course, had a great California swing. Has struggled a little bit in the Florida, but just everything, from a game perspective, what Cantlay brings to the table. And again, I was really thinking that the greens were going to stay very fast and very firm like they were. So it's a little interesting that after, of course, they blow the whistle, blow the horn, because some rain's coming in. I mean, maybe lightning was like 100 miles away. Who knows? I was a little upset that they even did that. But neither here or there. And then, they get the break, the greens get wet, and these guys go out and start firing at pins again. So I don't know. I was a little taken aback about how the course played Thursday. And then Friday with a little humidity, really didn't get rain, but it did play softer. And then, of course, after the rain, it was just, I think personally, way different than what it was on Thursday. So when you kind of have your mindset where the players that that can do well under those really firm, fast conditions, and then it changes. And we knew that there was possibility of weather, but again, I don't know if they didn't turn the sub-air systems on, but you could just see such a huge difference on how that course played. So that's it. That's my master spiel. I'm off it. Let's now go focus on the RBC. Okay. So about 100 miles away, a lot of guys are staying because it's a quick drive. You also got the European guys that are staying around. So it's actually going to be a pretty good field here. You got this last year was the second event coming off the pandemic or shut down because of the pandemic. So you had a really good field then. This one's more due to, I think, is the European guys are sticking around because the PGA is coming up. You got just local, a pretty quick drive, if you want to say. So there's some reasons for that. Also, you got that really cool plaid jacket. So if you didn't get a green jacket, why would you not want the plaid jacket? Sure, that's got a lot of reason why the guys are playing in it. And of course, you got the guys that are sponsored by RBC, like the DJs, and I believe Corey Connors. Some of those guys that they kind of are obligated to play. Okay, it is a par 71. It is 7,100 yards. It is, of course, almost like the Florida swing we just kind of looked at a lot. Bermuda rough, fairways, greens. These are, I think, the second tiniest greens next to Pebble Beach. And it is a crazy tight track. Now, because of the hurricanes, they did lose some trees. And I think they added some water because of that. So it's a little different the way it played a few years ago. But still, it's all about putting your tee ball in the correct spot. The player field is actually a little bigger. So it used to be invite only, from my understanding, if I remember right. And then you get a player field around 100. But we actually have almost 140 guys playing. So you got T65 and ties. So very similar to what we're used to seeing in a full event. Historical cut line is usually around +1. But you got that outlier last year. We had calm winds, a really good field, and they went out and torched this place to a 22 under. Webb Simpson was your winner. But on average, the winning score is somewhere around 12 or 15 under. Funny enough, if Webb would not have won, a little fun fact, would have been 5 first-time winners in a row. And then also a lot of playoffs happen here. And typically whoever wins, it's by a stroke. It's not usually a big wide margin. And of course, defense I mentioned a little bit, but all the fairways are tree lined, so you got to definitely be on point with the driver. It is coastal course, so you got the wind. They have 17 water hazards, so some decent water. I'll show you an overhead look of that. And of course, you got bunkers, and again the tiny greens. And the short of it is, it's all about good drives, and even though you might be in the rough or something like that on one side, but you got to stay to that side because to come into the pen, you got to be there. Even in some guys that are on the fairway to the left might be in worse trouble. So it's about knowing your angles coming into these greens, and it's all about the approach. And I kind of mentioned, so if you want to see just a quick layout overview, all I'm showing here again is the first thing you see is just a ton of trees. You're going to see a lot of water running around and sand around the greens. So, tough. It's a tough course, in short. And of course, I think I mentioned it is a Pete Dye / Jack Nicklaus design. So you'll notice on the scorecard, really the only thing I'm going to point out is there's 11 par 4s. You got 4 par 3s, couple around like 170, the other close to 200. The most gettable hole would be this first par 5 that you hit from an eagle and birdie perspective. But ultimately, they spread it out just like most courses. You got 3 opportunities to make some hay. You got 3 opportunities that you can get a bogey, and it's pretty much on the same. So really nothing from a showdown or any kind of methodology of where you'd want to start. Pretty equal throughout the card. And if you look at past conditions at this course over the past 2 years I just pulled up, the only thing I'd point out here is when it is windy, the greens are going to get firm and the scoring is going to be harder. That's really it. All the rest is short rough length. And green speeds also, if it gets windy, is going to get faster. So the best comp course that comes to my mind is where they play the Valspar. That would be Innisbrook Resort, which is Copperhead, tough track. Paul Casey, past winner 2 years running. So someone that it is in this field is someone we might want to look at. Also, I like RSM, the Sea Island Resort course. They played 2 different courses there, but that's a par 77,000 yards. And then, of course, they play Wyndham. You got Sedgefield. So those are the 3 that I'm going to be referencing. I mean, you could look a little at Pebble Beach. You could look at TPC Summerlin. I think that's where they play Shriners. The problem is those courses, they're not coastal and, well, okay, I take that back. Pebble Beach, of course, is, but it's a lot more area that you can, move the ball around, right? You can, they're big fairways. You don't have to worry about tree trouble. So will I still maybe trying to just, leverage, but I think those 3 courses for me are the best. I mean, there's Port Royale Golf Club where they play Bermuda, but we have no stroke gain data there. So it's not going to do us a whole lot of good. I mean, we could look at, who's done well there, but the problem is That's also kind of an alternate event almost where a lot of guys don't play there. That's going to be in this field. And then, of course, if you are lucky enough to win, you get to start the day with getting your ears blown out by the big cannon that they shoot off. So I'm not sure. I would guess a CT pan there. But, of course, 2020, you had Webb Simpson win. 2019 was CT Pan. And then Satoshi Kodaira, which ends CT Pan. I think their only win was at this event. First time and only back in 2018 was Satoshi Kodaira. I do remember CT Pan to his odds. I think were 350 to 1. It was ridiculous. I remember just being super bitter that I didn't throw a couple shackles on him. But why I pull this up is to look at the stroke gain data and see what they did well here. And really, if you just the ultimate thing that keeps sticking out to me is approach. So if you look at Webb, he had the exact gain, almost 6 strokes on approach when he had a second back in 2013 and a first in 2020. He gained, of course, with the putter, but quite a bit of difference, almost 3 strokes difference. And then same with these two. So, really when it comes down to it, it's approach. And of course, as I mentioned, you don't have to gain. You don't have to be gaining strokes. You just got to be making sure you're hitting the fairways. And you can see off the tee was not, for Webb, it was nothing big on any of them. I mean, the most we see is Satoshi gaining 4 strokes against the field. So how do you win here? With that all being said, first thing I'm going to be looking at is guys that got to hit the fairways, good drivers. Doesn't have to be length. It just has to be, you got to be in the fairway. It's all about the approach, the proximity to the pins that showed up. A lot of shots coming in from 150 to 175 and 175 to 200. You got to be able to scramble on multiple fronts, right? I mean, you're going to be missing greens. You are going to get off. These are smaller fairways. So you're going to have to be able to, get around the course. And of course, you got to be good around the green because they are such little fairways. Little greens that you're not always going to be on them, which then brings in sand saves. And then, of course, the putting I don't think is as crucial here. With the smaller greens, you're not going to have the crazy, typically, lengthy putts. So not worried about the 3 putting. You got to be able to putt, but I'm not worried as much as I was, like, say, at the Masters. You got to make birdie or better, as I showed you. I mean, it's a range from 12 on average to 20, but you're going to have to be, get guys that can make some birdies. And then because of 11 par 4s, you are going to have to be good in managing the par 4s. So real quick, if we look at the field, this is just looking over past 12 rounds and just looking at stroke gain data. Who's done well from a stroke gain analysis. No filters, nothing put on here. And just so you can get an idea, of course, Charlie Hoffman, who's been playing well, Will Z, Morikawa could be live here. It's all about the putter. I already mentioned Paul Casey, I think is very live. One of the first ones I thought was Abraham Answer, which, funny enough, does not show up here. But I think he could maybe get his first win here. I also like Will Z, knowing that if he, as far as I understand, he has to get a win if he wants to play in the FedEx playoffs, or he does not qualify that. So that is something I think is interesting. And then, of course, if I also wanted to pull up just guys that do well at Pete Dye courses, so the Pete Dye specialist. So this is, 12 rounds, 12 past rounds that they played at Pete Dye courses. And, of course, Siwoo Kim, our players champion of a couple years back, is number 1. Paul Casey, which I already mentioned, Webb Simpson. So, you can see these are, some past winners. Abraham Answer, who had second. DJ, who's done well here. Trying to see if anybody else pops up that I might be interested in. Shane Lowry also in 2019 was in contention. I mentioned Matt Kuchar, who's played here quite a bit, and Matt's shown some form. I don't know how super excited I'll be to play him, but he has done well here. So I think that's it. Really don't have anything else on the RBC at this moment that I want to cover. So, hey, thank you for stopping by. At least it gets the brain start working. I think we're all still a little hungover from the Masters, but it is a cool venue, a cool tournament. We don't have the $1 million to shoot for, but we have a couple $100,000 if you get in the big game. And, I'm excited to see what we can do here. Like what you see, click the like button if you would share it with anybody else that you think would. And if you have not subscribed, I would greatly appreciate it if you'd subscribe. And if I can ever help you out with any questions you might have on anything, hit me up on the YouTube comments or at DFS Golf Guru. I appreciate it greatly. You guys take care. Get the picks out tomorrow sometime in the later afternoon. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.